a really strong shot at coming, and I feel like CLG is probably the favorite. But the way that Quantic has been playing lately, the way that Absolute Legends has kind of come out of nowhere and become really strong, it could go any way. It really can.
I'm honestly kind of curious. There's a little bit of overlap on some of these players for who's going to be able to pick up what, because Niantonso and Doublelift are the two best Vaynes in North America.
Yeah.
And they're both very, strong AD carries. Doublelift, you look at him and Doublelift almost never loses bot lane. You see, it happens sometimes, but later in the game, even if he loses early, later in the game, his mechanics are just so strong that, he'll 3v1 people as Vayne. He's very, safe. You know what you're getting from him in team fights, so it's a nice, consistent presence for them. Yeah,
his mechanics can definitely drive the team. Locodoco is a new addition, but anchored by Doublelift's mechanics, they still perform really well. And it takes a lot of getting used to play styles of your fellow teammate, but it looks like they're adapting pretty quick, and Doublelift's having no problem really using his mechanics to make them successful down in the bot lane.
And already we're seeing a lot of picks that are going directly towards CLG and some of the strategies that they've run, because Lee Sin, he's one of the strongest junglers in the game right now. Arguably the strongest jungler, depending on who's playing him. Chauster definitely likes him. He's also been playing a lot of Maokai. But Rengar in the top lane, that's something that we've seen a lot recently from Hotshot. So he really likes that Rengar pick. They go ahead and ban it out, see what they can pressure, what kind of situation they can pressure him into, and right off the bat, picking up TF. And that's something that Big Fat has played TF significantly in the past, but definitely an interesting pick for a couple of reasons. One, Quantic, they've been kind of moving people around. Wild Turtle originally came in as their AD, but then swapping back into the mid, and Nian is their AD now. So Wild Turtle...
Is that a permanent thing, or is that...
I don't know if it is.
I wonder if it's conditional to what picks they get, because
that was my first thought.
Because Turtle is actually really strong on TF. We saw that at Face Off. We've seen that throughout as he's been subbing for other teams. So Niantonso, though, kind of tends to favor like the AD carries, even in the mid.
Yeah.
He likes Caitlyn, and he performs a lot with Caitlyn. So I mean, not surprising to see such a strong pick going on Turtle and then having him move into the mid lane.
But the scary thing right now is we know that Wild Turtle's really strong at TF, but right now the team comp that CLG's getting, and you already see the Nocturne and Malphite, who are both incredibly strong against TF. Well, they also like running Diana mid with Big Fat, and I'm pretty sure that's where they're going with this strategy right now. Having the Nocturne and Malphite already locked down, it's probably going to be a Diana, and that is just going to be devastating against TF. They can have a lot of mobility as a team, they can put on a lot of pressure, and pick up easy kills, so it's going to be difficult. Quantic has to keep that in mind right now, and we'll kind of see what they do.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I really like the Nocturne pick on Chauster. We're seeing him play Nocturne a lot lately, especially with Lee Sin getting banned all the time. But Nocturne's one of those jungle champions that can definitely carry the game and has the potential to do that. So seeing that on Chauster, someone whose mechanics and skill and knowledge of the game is so vast, putting him on a champion like Nocturne with the ability to dive in with that ultimate, not surprising, and expecting to see some big numbers out of him there.
And it's interesting, assuming this is the way they're going to go, I think that we're going to see a Diana and a Lulu here. And if that is the case, then it's kind of the same comp that we've seen out of Zubu Blaze. And, Locodoco, his experience with that team and with the Korean scene, they have that aggressive early pushing style. And CLG, they've kind of talked about in the past how they would like to try that out, but they've never been very strong about pushing those early advantages. So they prefer, the late game, and kind of need to figure that out. That was like when Loco first joined the team, he was like, hey guys, let's take the towers really early on. And they were like, no, we can't. We don't know how to do it. But we'll see where they go. They hold off on that last pick. So they have a couple of options. They do grab that Vayne pick, which is very strong. They could go with like an Orianna as well in that mid lane. So they have a really strong starting team.
Yeah, and now they have some really sick initiation with Malphite, and now with Sona on top of that too. Those ults together will just make for a crazy strong initiation, just a really good team fight in general, with the ability of Nocturne to dive into the back. I'm expecting a pretty scary comp coming from CLG. On the other hand, Caitlyn, Niantonso knows how to farm on Caitlyn, and regardless of the ability to poke him down with Sona or just the rush down that Vayne can offer, Caitlyn's really good sitting back, farming up, and we've seen how Niantonso likes to do that. And he's extremely strong at it. He has ridiculous numbers.
CLG, Doublelift likes playing Caitlyn as well. So both of them are probably the most proficient Caitlyn and Vayne players in North America. So they kind of have similar play styles in that regards. And I don't know, they both know kind of the matchup, but it's funny because Caitlyn versus Vayne, before Corki was the most popular and Ezreal and whatnot, I mean, a long time ago, over a year ago, last spring in League of Legends, Caitlyn versus Vayne was like the most common matchup. It was Vayne was the hyper carry and Caitlyn was the really strong early game AD. And so you looked at it and Caitlyn or Vayne easily out damages Caitlyn, but Caitlyn has that range to kind of wear them down. And we'll see what that last pick is going to be. If it's an AP teamer, that would be cool. But
no, I was really hoping.
We'll see where they're going. And it is Diana.
Diana,
so
okay. You were right. Good call.
Kind of what I was thinking. I thought they would go with the Lulu, because if it was the Lulu, then it would literally be almost the exact same team comp that Azubu Blaze runs.
Do you think that's why Quantic went with the Fiddlesticks pick in that situation, anticipating that like diving, super aggressive comp that CLG has in this situation? Can Fiddlesticks really make a difference in the middle of that fight with that ultimate?
Honestly, I'm kind of scared. I'm curious what they're going to do with the Fiddlesticks, because Fiddlesticks has a lot of damage and he has a lot of CC, so he's going to thrive in those smaller engages, and that's what they want to force with Fiddlesticks and TF, try and pick people off. In the middle of a team fight, though, I'm just imagining...
Oh, and it's a support Fiddle. Is that what it is?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what. I'm sorry.
No. They had
Nunu, but so Nunu's going to the jungle.
Yeah, that might be it. So that's going to be interesting. My concern is going to be that they have already like a squishy team.
Yeah.
And CLG's just going to dive onto them and kill them. So they have that flexibility. Honestly, we don't know right now whether it's
I don't know what's going on right now.
Nunu or Fiddle.
Yeah, that's true. But it does have that flexibility.
Nunu's a lot more common. And Nocturne's a really fast jungler. Fiddle's a little bit slow. He's really vulnerable to counter jungling and falling behind early.
Yeah, should be interesting. I don't know. I mean, that's the cool thing about the flexibility of champions like that, where you can go back and forth and really throw your opponent off. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the power that Caitlyn gets from Nunu, like I don't it's amazing.
A common lane.
Yeah, exactly. And which is why the Fiddlesticks pick is so confusing to me if Lemonation decides to stay on Fiddle after all. But I mean, I actually am expecting a switch. But then again, Fiddle in the jungle.
You don't run Fiddle support all the time, Nick?
I should though. I really should. It seems decent. Really throws people off. But it's not as good.
You tell the ladies, and they're like, "Oh
my gosh, that guy plays Fiddle support. Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Well, I've never thought about this, this way for a support player before, but Fiddle.
All these emotions that are just like
coming to me
up inside of me.
Yeah, but I mean, Fiddle he's not the greatest jungler in the current meta. He doesn't provide the same thing that a lot of other junglers do. Nunu provides that control in the jungle. So I don't know. You really go either way. I mean, Nocturne can have a pretty hard time against Nunu in the jungle with the counter jungling until he hits level 6. But
one thing that's going to be really scary, and it is going to be a Fiddle support, I'm almost certain, because I mean, like we've been talking about, the control that Nunu gives is so significant, and you don't want to have that lack of map control early on. But the exciting thing about Fiddle as the support, Sona was nerfed, she's pretty squishy. Vayne is very short-range champion.
Yeah.
Fiddle has that instant fear, which is a ridiculous duration. It's 3 seconds duration fear at max level, and then also the silence and whatnot. So he actually could harass Vayne pretty effectively, or even pick up a kill onto Sona.
Yeah.
And then you have to consider, Caitlyn's already so strong at controlling the lane. It doesn't matter if he's kind of squishy as a support. It doesn't matter if he's a little bit weak, because he's setting up the kills for Caitlyn. She's going to just shut down the lane by herself, and then Fiddle is going to be like, fear, Caitlyn trap, kill him.
Yeah, and the combination of Nunu as well in that jungle, that synergy there, the ganks are going to be extremely strong in the bot lane with the snowball, with the fear, and then the range of Caitlyn being able to just chase, sit back, and play safe. The traps, they have a lot of good things going for them in the bot lane. I think the key thing is Locodoco going to be able to poke them down and play safe because of, like you said, the nerfs to Sona. It's a little bit scarier to get in there and try to do some damage, especially when you have such a strong fear on Fiddle. If Sona gets caught out, feared in the wrong direction towards the opponent, it's going to be a really bad day for her.
And because of that situation, I think it's very likely that CLG is going to be running a lane swap. And so I think Quantic, they recognize that situation. Aurelia, does okay, but Vayne is one of the best ADs to swap because she can shut down bruisers, and then you get her free farm. And Malphite's actually really strong in the 1v2.
Yeah.
And then he also has that teleport. So I think it's fairly likely that we're going to be seeing a lane swap from CLG. So that's going to be kind of interesting. But if they do swap, then you have to consider Fiddle his early dragon control. You know, if he just walks up, him and Nunu, they could take dragon very easily. Fiddle can tank it. So Quantic could maybe get an early dragon advantage. They have to, worry about Nocturne. He's always going to be a threat. But we'll see what they do. I'll take a look at Hotshot's stuff real quick. Most of the Runes of Masters I'm expecting are going to be pretty common, but physical damage and health regen on Malphite. So the health regen would definitely help in that 1v2. But,
yeah, absolutely.
That would be fine top lane as well. The physical damage is a little bit unusual.
Yeah.
Because that allows them to trade a little bit more effectively. But
maybe farm a little bit more effectively in the midst of the 2v1.
I mean, that seems to me more of a common 1v1 top page because it gives him the armor he needs, and then he'll be able to trade with Aurelia better. But we'll have to see where he's going to go.
I'm really excited for this Fiddle pick.
Yeah,
I'm thinking more about it against Sona specifically, with the ability to heal out the damage that she does, and she does a lot of early game damage, a lot of it. And so having the ability to take those hits, going back and then draining life and healing back up, being able to harass still, and with that long range on both, just the abilities of Fiddle and the auto attacks of Caitlyn, I think Locodoco is going to have a really hard time in this situation.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's going to be exciting. One thing I love about CLG's comp right now, and again, I think it goes back to, the Koreans. And always, I mean, you have to compare NA to, some of those foreign teams just because they're having so much success. So how can you not?
Yeah.
But the really nice thing about their comp right now is that it provides a lot of mobility for CLG. And I think that's where they do their best. They a lot of times they like to split the lanes. They can do a split push with Malphite potentially, but generally Malphite's going to want to stick with the team and use that teleport to engage with the team. But Nocturne's mobility and then Big Fat, I think he's best when he's playing champions like Diana and Orianna, who are very strong early on in the game and can leave lane, because we haven't seen for a while Big Fat winning his lane. That's what used to happen with Big Fat. He used to be one of the strongest laners in the game, and you were like, oh my god, he is God when he plays. And you always expected him to win his lane. And for a long time now, CLG has been struggling, and Big Fat, he's a little bit more of a passive laner.
Yeah.
But
I just want to say, like, you usually say he's a god, and this time you're like, he's God. He's God.
Was.
Yeah, he was God.
But for him to be able to leave lane, he doesn't need to win his lane. He can win other people's lanes. He can pick up those early kills, and that's the strength of that Diana Nocturne combo. And then later on in team fights, I mean, TF is going to really be pressured a lot.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this when we casted the games of well, not me personally, but you and Hatperson, Azubu Blaze versus Najin Shield, and you said they have like this dive comp where essentially 3 members of the team just dive in really quick while the AD carry safely sits back and just puts out tons of damage. And we're seeing that in this comp too. Diana, Malphite, and Nocturne can just dive in, do tons of damage. Diana can then can shield. What is the item I'm blanking on?
Oh, Zonia's.
Zonia's.
Yeah.
Can Zonia's stay safe, and Doublelift can just literally just sit there and do a lot of damage. And we can't forget Sona's damage too. With the ultimate, with the Q and the power cord, she can dish out a ton as well.
The Zonia's is really the key for running that Diana, because you want to rush the Zonia's, and we've seen Big Fat do it before, but you want to rush the Zonia's so you can disengage. So you dive in, you disengage to allow yourself to get a reset of your cooldowns. But the one issue with running Sona in this team is the Lulu wall actually helps Diana a lot, because she gets the knock up and makes her a little bit tankier, so that it's kind of a double disengage. So you have the Lulu ult to protect you, and you have the Zonia's. So they're not going to have that. But Sona, as all in all as a champion, is incredibly strong. So she definitely fulfills that role as well. If Diana jumps in, then she has the Malphite knock-up. She has the Sona ultimate.
Yeah.
All these different ways to protect her, in essence. Even if Big Fat's right in the middle of their team, they're not going to be able to deal with him. So it's a really strong combination.
Yeah, and it's going to be really scary for TF, like you mentioned, with that short range. He's going to get burnt down. And, of course, Aurelia's short range, too. So it's really, can they keep Nian safe in the back? Can they get some good fears off? Can he do the damage? But with such a divey team, he's going to have a really really hard time with that.
That's honestly why I thought that Wild Turtle would go with Gragas maybe and hold off on the AP pick, but he just picked it right at the beginning of the game. He thought maybe Big Fat would take it, so just wanted to get it out of the way, but it kind of left him open to this. But he knows what he's doing. He's been a very strong TF in the past. We'll see what he does. Maybe he'll get those mobility boots.
Yeah, we'll see. That was pretty impressive. Who do we see that out of? MYM
versus Fnatic, and it was MYM's mid laner. What is his name?
I've forgotten.
MYM mid lane.
Yeah.
But he
Sorry
went with
if you're
his
watching.
mobility boots. Sorry, I apologize. But we do have movement speed, or Wild Turtle does have movement speed. So we'll see what he can do. A lot of it is just that TF provides so much early map control. If he can get off successful ganks or anything. And then also, we've seen him do those late game presence.
Oh my gosh,
wow,
that is a
the
lot of damage on Sona.
Oh, wow. And no AP.
Yeah.
No AP, and that silence, the bounces, just rock Loco Doco.
Yeah. That is a serious problem for Sona now. Oh, we're jumping back into a pause, but serious problem. I mean, she has such little life, less life than a minion. She has 7 armor now, opposed to 9 her old armor value, and so she's pretty weak. And we've seen sometimes with maybe some of the really strong early game AD carries like Draven, where she'll get out of place and then 3 auto attacks and she's dead. And it's a rough existence down there in the bot lane for Sona right now.
It ain't easy.
It ain't easy. It ain't.
Yeah.
Especially with the prevalence of like Zyra right now with her strong poke, and of course we continue to see Blitzcrank. Hard time.
Hard times indeed, but
yeah.
we'll see what Loco Doco can do. Quantic, on the other hand, we've been talking a lot about CLG, and honestly, I'm really excited about this comp because it is, hopefully a new bold look of CLG. But Quantic, they've been really strong recently. They were Orbit. Leaving Orbit Gaming, there were some organizational issues there. Become Reddit Nation, which is, that's just cool. They were for a very brief period of time. Nick Allen is better than Red Baron.
Yeah, that's
you coaxed them.
I didn't know it was their idea. I don't put these thoughts into people's minds. They just come up with it, and I respect them for it.
Nick Allen is the mind killer.
But we're back in the game, thank goodness, and Yuzuki needs to be real safe here, backing because maybe they're going to swap or something? Or?
Well, they are set up where they can do that lane swap, and that's something we kind of expected. Aurelia does back, so I think they expected it. So they maybe saw Sona walk past the Wraith Ward. No, she goes back, so she just gets a 4th health bot.
Okay.
And then she's going to be okay. Wild Turtle helping there, but they're actually going for this blue steal, and we'll see actually whether Hotshot goes for the blue as well. He went for the Wolves. That gives him a nice little early advantage, and a lot of times that's actually one of the cool things with doing a lane swap is you're not going to sit in lane anyway. You usually want to wait for that first wave to hit the turret. So you can actually go for buffs, and he is going for it. And so that's going to get him to level 2 without even being in lane, and then he can recall and come back, and the lane's going to be pushed for him. And that's the common thing that we're seeing a lot now, and that's really strong in that dual lane. But it'll also allow him to farm very effectively with that blue.
Yeah, Malphite with blue is going to be really good, like you said, farming, but just a little bit of harass and just a little bit more safe for Malphite. We also, I had seen some Chalice play on Malphite, trying to get the same effect in the 2v1 lane, but not taking blue, and just trying to be able to play it safe and sit back and farm with your abilities rather than your auto attacks.
And as a result now, CLG starting off to a great start. They have control of 3 buffs, and that's something, World Championships we saw, that was one of their strong strategies that they actually did use, was they were able to take control of the early buffs. So they have 3 buffs early on. That's definitely a major advantage. Malphite's in a great situation. Yuzuki on Aurelia. Aurelia is one of the strongest top champions in the game right now, and we're going to continue to see her being played just because of how strong she is. But still really going to struggle against this lane. Once she hits level 6, she should be okay, but already getting worn down without even being in range for any creeps there.
Yeah, I mean, Vayne is really good in the 2v1, but I think here in this situation, Sona is really the difference because of how much early game damage she can put out. If it was someone else, some other situation, they might be able to sneak some farm here and there, but there's so much risk involved with farming now. And High-L9 just putting some pressure there, just making his presence known, letting CLG know that they can't just be completely safe in the top.
And partially, it's just helping Yuzuki. So a lot of times you need to get that jungle help just to zone so that he can even farm right now, because otherwise they would just be eating at him underneath this turret. So he keeps his health up. That's really important early on. The trap almost hitting Hotshot there, so really dangerous. But we'll see how both of these lanes kind of work out. It should be to Malphite's advantage, and we already see an early advantage there. And he does have the cloth as well. So when he went back, that first back with getting the blue and everything, he had the cloth armor and a ward. So that's an absurdly strong start. 6 health pots.
Wait, what? Oh, crazy. Okay. So opting out of the boots, which is what we normally see out of, it's really actually quite important in the 2v1 as to not get zoned. If they come in with boots and you don't have it in the 2v1, that can be a serious problem. But I mean, I guess I wouldn't say this is a gamble. I'm sure he knows exactly what he's doing.
Perfect, though.
But yeah, it's working great for him. It's helping him to be able to take some of the hits and have a little bit more sustain.
Caitlin's all physical.
Yeah.
Fiddle's
physical. I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, Fiddle's all physical. He's not going to get enough magic damage early on in the game. He's mostly there for the CC. So most of the damage is going to be physical. Wild Turtle almost going down. Chouster trying to take him down, but does hit the turret some. So forcing him back, the flash is down for Wild Turtle. So a successful gank from Chouster, but kind of a dangerous situation for him, so he's going to go back to that lane.
Yeah, and just some harass going up on top lane. Locodoco getting caught out, having to flash. Vayne also just trying to do some damage before backing out under the turret. And then that Sona Q just continuing to poke away. The problem with harassing Nunu like that is his ability to consume. He can come in and be a little bit aggressive, drop some snowballs, and then retreat after taking some damage and fill his life back up again. And so he actually is really strong in harassing because you can't really burn him down. His sustain is too good. So I mean, here
that was really important for Double Lift and Loco to not go down there.
Yeah.
That would have been, I mean, if they had died there, sometimes we see, the jungler come up in that 1v2, and if they turn it around, get those early kills, then instantly Aurelia would win that lane, and that would just be completely shutting him down. But L9, he's been putting a lot of pressure on this top lane. He's just babysitting Yuzuki, and as a result, Chouster gets to have his way with the rest of the team. He's coming mid for Wild Turtle. No ultimate from Big Fat, but they just zone him off after he steals those wraiths, so he gets down and gets the steal. But it's interesting, one thing that Nunu being up there protected, like, it's not like he was just kind of wasting his time in running a dual lane. One thing you protect him against is the level 3 gank, which is something that we see a lot in that 1v2 lane. It is a very common situation to just send the jungler up right as the wave is hitting the turret. You have the jungler level 3 at that time, and you have both of your laners at level 3, and the top lane is only level 1 or 2. So Nunu, by putting so much pressure on it, he's actually put Yuzuki in a really nice situation in that top lane.
Yeah, the help was definitely needed, and it's going to allow him to be, a little bit tankier and to put up a little bit better fight by having that assistance, allowing him to farm. And Big Fat LP is going to be in trouble if he's not too careful. And looks like Hai's just backing out, knowing that there probably isn't a whole lot of opportunity there. Just going into the opponent's jungle, looking to counter jungle what Nunu does so well.
And right now we see Malphite and Aurelia, they're actually even. So Hotshot, he's being kind of pressured by Lemon God here in Niantonso. Lemon God's supporting for Quantic, so, kind of moving in.
That's Lemon Nation.
Lemon Nation, my bad. So Lemon Nation, the Quantic support, but I don't know, he's actually in a decent situation. TF porting up top, trying to pick up Locodoco. There's the stun. Yuzuki should be able to finish that off. First blood goes down, and really, they have to watch out for that. CLG has to watch out for that constant pressure. Chouster, he's actually going to try and cut off Wild Turtle as he comes down. If Diana comes down, he can maybe get him, but just forces him off, and then we'll return back to the jungle or to the lane.
Yeah, we saw Sona blow her flash earlier, so, I mean, good on Quantic to time that out, knowing that the flash wasn't going to be up, and if she got just a little bit overextended, because she has such low life and low armor, she's going to go down really quick. So they just jumped on that opportunity and took her out, and that's really, really going to help Yuzuki in the top lane. I mean, whenever you can score a kill in any means in the 2v1 lane, it's such a big win for you, because you expect to be behind. That's just the nature of the lane.
Chouster and Big Fat making a really nice invade here. L9 walking into him, but they're in a dangerous spot here. Caitlyn and Fiddlesticks just went back, actually, so they're perfectly safe. They force L9 to flash, and now TF is going to be walking into him. Big Fat, he has that ultimate if they can turn into him. If they get the fear, there's the slow, but he's very low. One more attack from Chouster should be enough to do it. Big Fat, or actually Chouster picking up the kill with that red buff, and now they can actually transition down to Dragon potentially, but maybe they won't actually, because they know Caitlyn's just coming into that lane, so they won't go for it, but still a nice, little invade for CLG.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure why Turtle decided to go after that and try to make some play. Maybe just maybe he knew they were there. Maybe he was just going to try to poke, but face chucking a bush like that
against a double CC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not a good idea. Hopefully he learned his lesson in that situation, and so he's going to be a little bit behind. That's actually a really nice win for Big Fat LP, not having to deal with that as much.
And we're starting to see Double Lift and Locodoco putting some pressure on this turret. Both turrets for the bot and the top are actually pretty high, so neither team has really gotten a lot of pressure. Malphite's able to clear the minions, while Vayne is hasn't been able to push too much because of Nunu, but Nocturne coming up in the top lane. He has that double buff. Nunu's trying to catch him out, and Chowster's just going to go for it. Loco taking the turret for a second. There's the ult from Chowster trying to come in for this kill. Vayne picking it up. High L9 uses his ultimate, but it's broken by the Condemn from Double Lift, and Loco once again tanking. So perfect play from CLG. They're able to switch targets very effectively there. And then instead of going for the Nunu, they recognize Quantic is sending up Wild Turtles. So he backs off, and they backed off to not fear that TF pressure.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. How I think a lot of the idea behind the Nunu pick was to prevent CLG from getting it potentially, maybe in combination with Vayne, even though I don't see Locodoco using it a lot. But the problem with that is Vayne is so good against Nunu. Oh, and diving in, trying to do some damage before the turret goes down. And it looks like they're able to get that tower, no problem. Oh my gosh, just jumping on high.
Can TF pick it up? Wild Turtle, he didn't get the stun on the Locodoco. He has to back off. Big Fat jumping in, he's able to pick up the kill. He jumps back out onto a minion, so nice play from CLG. And Hotshot in the meantime, he backed off. He tried to get that ultimate onto Nien, see what happens, but Lemon Nation played that perfectly. He sat there and tanked the turret so that Nien was safe, but they do lose their bottom turret. So the first turret is down. Now we have Chowster actually coming down in the bottom lane. Nien isn't out of there yet, so Chowster, he can try and chase him down if he can just barely get in range.
Chowster closing in pretty quick here. Let's see if he can be able to close this gap. Nien Tonso, you or Caitlyn, you have pretty bad escape. Flashing out, they're going to dive on it, looks like. Hotshot just going to do some damage from the back, and Nocturne in his face. Nien goes down pretty quick. And look at the tower dives and the aggression coming out of CLG. It's very impressive.
Yeah, and Chowster and all of CLG, we're seeing with those tower dives, they know exactly how to tank the turrets. They know exactly how low they can get. So they're, playing those situations perfectly. Chowster just getting out of there. He just walks right through the trap. So recognizing he, doesn't want to spell shield any other abilities or anything. But they do back off, and 5-1, an early lead for CLG. But they're actually at a gold disadvantage right now because of that bot turret, and then also because of the slight farm lead. And you see Caitlyn over Vayne, slight lead there. Malphite to Aurelia, slight lead there as well. So Quantic's actually doing a really nice job keeping in this, and they're at the point in the game where they want to get Wild Turtle to start being involved. The only concern for that is if Big Fat and Chowster are watching, if they're keeping an eye on him, maybe he walks into a trap.
Yeah, I mean, he has such an element of surprise, so he has to be very, very careful to use his ultimate well, to make sure that he he can score some kills. He needs to have a presence in this game, but he's 0-2. 0-2 right now.
And right off the bat, it looked like Big Fat and Chowster, they might actually go for that dive mid, and they have the burst potential that Wild Turtle has to be afraid that every single Nocturne ult is going to be a death for him. But then Big Fat actually coming up in the top lane. He wants Yuzuki once again, and they should be able to take him down.
Yeah, and the pressure from Diana and the pause coming in, but it's not looking good for Yuzuki. They're timing these tower dives so well, and they know how to make it happen. The burst DPS coming out of Diana and the early game damage from Sona is making these tower dives pretty easy for him. And Vayne can go and do damage and then tumble out. It's not a big deal. And so that's pretty scary for Yuzuki, and we're seeing he's having a hard time up there.
One benefit, though, is now if CLG goes for this kill at top, again, they're pulling ahead in kills. They'll go to 6-1, but it's actually going to be to the gold advantage of Quantic, because Quantic has 4 members around the dragon.
Yeah.
They have Fiddlesticks down there as well. So CLG coming up for this Aurelia kill, it means that they're giving up a free dragon to Quantic. So again, even though they pull ahead in kills, they're falling behind in gold.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great response from Quantic, knowing how, if we're going to lose something in this area of the map, we should gain something in another area of the map. So, that takes a lot of good map awareness and knowing where the players are at and knowing, the next best thing. If we're going to die, we're going to lose a tower. If the dragon's up, heck, let's do it. And, the pressure Nien Tonso continues to put in bot lane. They're sticking around. The tower's still down. I kind of expected them to maybe rotate a little bit, go and take the top tower, something along those lines, but they're sticking it out and farming, and it puts them in a great position to get dragon.
So we'll see how CLG is going to respond. It seems like they're going in for the kill up top. CLG, everyone kind of having issues, but hopefully everything's okay now, and we can continue to see what happens with this game. But it's starting to get to the point where we're going to see more and more skirmishes from both teams. So far, CLG has done a really great job of putting the pressure onto Quantic. And even though it's still an even game again, even though Quantic's slightly out farming them, CLG has been for the most part keeping up with farm. You see, Vayne in a great situation, 2-0, 95 CS. So that's absolutely perfect. That puts her ahead of Caitlyn in the meantime. So that's the big key for CLG is getting their carries farmed, putting them in good situations. And Malphite's really the only one who's struggling right now, and that's fine. Malphite doesn't need a lot of gold. They know Aurelia is struggling as well, so having Hotshot be at that gold deficit. He hasn't died at all, and that's all you can really ask from that 1v2 is to put yourself, be ready to contribute later in the game. And Malphite, all he has to do is ult really, and then not die early.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't necessarily need a lot of gold to be able to make his ultimate amazing, and that's what it's going to be. And Aurelia not doing so hot like you said, so I think it's pretty even. Of course, there is a little bit of a level advantage coming out of CLG, which never.
That's true.
Never. Forget about how significant levels can be in team fights, especially if you are having multiple members hit, those benchmarks like 6, 11, 16 before your opponent. And you can make a big difference in the team fights. That's
a really great point because the tower and the dragon giving that team gold, but not the experience. Whereas the kills, are putting CLG ahead where, there could be just a turning point at some point in this game where they just take that level lead and really build on it.
And some of the Asian teams, we actually see some really interesting timing attacks, especially with Malphite or Maokai. He will, when they hit 11, and he will use his ultimate to be able to take advantage of towers and push in situations that maybe you wouldn't necessarily want to. But knowing those timings of hitting level 11, some of those more significant ultimates and doing more damage or more damage prevention, you can really make a difference, and it can be really significant going into the mid and the late game. So we're just sitting, guys, waiting to make sure the connections are going through. So hopefully they'll be back any second. Connection issues happen from time to time. But
not to me, they don't.
No, not. I am the internet. No it's connection
the
issues.
Black box in the back of IPL. Yeah, so hopefully everything's okay there. Hotshot hasn't been forced to use his teleport yet. He's still just hanging out bot.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fine. Doesn't really have Malphite doesn't really have the best split push later on, so it shouldn't be an issue for Quantic to deal with. So it really is just going to come down to if either team has a significant gold lead through the mid game.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it. It seems like it is going to be a pretty steady paced game, and then it'll just come down to what happens in those team fights. And Diana #1, if they can't pressure Diana, Diana will easily take over fights for CLG. Then you have to consider CLG, all the hard initiation that they have.
Yeah.
If they can, try and shut down both Fiddlesticks and TF, because really the means of Quantic to deal with double lift are going to be Fiddlesticks and Aurelia. But they have enough. CLG has enough CC that they should be able to protect double lift there. He also has the cleanse. That's a really good pickup on his part. But Quantic, on the other hand, they have more of a poke-oriented team. And they want to use the Nunu in particular to control the front line of the fights and just split themselves from CLG, and then just try and take off people one at a time, or maybe set up a really nice Fiddle ult. I'm really curious to see how Lemonation is going to involve himself with Fiddle later on, because Fiddle, he's really squishy early on. You were talking about timing attacks. That's a really important one.
Yeah.
He's getting Fiddle to level 11 because level 6, his ult really doesn't do that much damage, and he's very squishy. So as a support, he needs those quick levels. But once he gets going, he's so strong. He has really high base damage. He scales very well as the game progresses. And it's interesting to see that. I mean, we haven't seen him for a while because of the early game deficiencies that he has. But if he can keep himself involved in this game, then he should be okay.
I like to think that Quantic needs to control a lot of space and have a good engage and a good initiation to be able to win team fights, if they can win at all. I'm not sure they can. CLG's team comp, especially, when centered around team fights, is really strong. And the problem, too, is, we have Nunu, who channels his ultimate, and we have Fiddle, who needs to get really close with his ultimate to do a lot of damage. But we have all these champions on CLG that can prevent all that.
Yeah.
You can lock down Nunu, you can stun him, you can knock him up, you can fear him, or you can knock him away with Vayne.
Diana.
Yeah, any of them are going to knock Nunu out of what he wants to do. And, some of those champions, too, can just knock him away. So, it's really, can they make sure they can keep him in the fight? Are they going to stay relevant? And I think they're not going to be able to do that, in which case CLG is just going to walk all over him in the team fights. But on the other hand, Quantic has an amazing, catch team. They can catch people out of position really well, and once they have the CC,
lots of single target.
Lot of single target with Caitlyn. That new item isn't in the game yet. That's going to make Caitlyn amazing. The Storm, or
It's Runan's Thunder.
Your Runan's Thunder, yeah.
So for Riot Runan?
Right. Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
Isn't that what it is?
I think that has to be what it is, yeah. But it's going to allow, I mean, whenever you do a basic attack, you get 2 additional attacks that hit nearby targets that do 50% of your total attack damage. So now these single target champions like Caitlyn are now AoE champions that are amazing.
I think there was a post on Reddit I was just looking at, and it seemed like it was going to be insane. Like it looks so cool. But the guy he looked at the math of it, and like on Kog'Maw for instance, it doubles his damage output because you have those Kog'Maw procs on every single person. And that's so cool.
Yeah.
We were talking about Caitlyn, how that's neat, how it's like every 2 or 3 hits, she's going to get her passive procced.
Yeah.
Because she's just hitting everybody.
And if we see like Nunu and Caitlyn together with that auto attack speed or that attack speed increase, it's just gonna be like headshot after headshot.
How
after
that
headshot.
could make Caitlyn potentially. Put her into consideration again, because for a long time she wasn't being used because she's only a single target DPS. She doesn't have any steroids. She doesn't have the strong AoE damage you're looking for from some champions. Yes, she has her Q for AoE, but it's a channel on her part, and it's just a small line. So it's really the damage reduces as it goes along. So it's pretty insignificant in fights, but we're seeing her come back because of just the quick, how strong she is early on in the game. You don't have to rely on her as an AD carry, and then you just get a quick kill sometimes. And that's something we've seen with Quantic is, with TF and with Gragas in particular, they'll just be like, if they find the enemy AD carry, Gragas barrel into a Caitlyn ultimate, insta-dead.
Yeah. It's a significant amount of damage. I also think that Caitlyn is really strong in the 2v1. Can put a lot of pressure because of her range.
Yeah,
and as more and more, absolutely, and as more and more teams, start to really abuse that 2v1, as we see more of the Asian style strategies coming over, I think Caitlyn's going to be used more and more. And as they, as Riot wants to make these single hit, AD carries more viable by introducing all these new items, I think she's definitely going to see a lot of play coming up in the future.
A big part of getting Caitlyn involved is when those NA teams and when everyone starts putting more pressure on the early game, because Caitlyn is incredibly strong early on in the game, and she's good at pushing towers very early on.
Yeah.
Whereas for a long time now, we've seen in the NA scene, but across the world, most of the emphasis is put onto team fights. Caitlyn isn't the best in team fights. I mean, she's okay, but she's just a single target DPS. But if you put more emphasis on objectives and pushing really early on in the game, then she definitely works very well.
Well, then she'll be good in team fights because she's so far ahead at that point. Yeah, so I mean that's one way to get around that, is just get her fed and over leveled, and she's going to deal a lot of damage.
I also think that's why it's really important to go with the Infinity Edge build. And for a long time, we had been seeing the Bloodthirster build on Caitlyn, just because it scales really well with the rest of her abilities. But really, once you get into team fights, she just becomes an auto attacker, and Bloodthirster just doesn't give you enough damage against tanks, against armor like Frozen Heart or Warden's Mail. Caitlyn doesn't do enough damage. And that's something in Lone Star Clash we saw when the end going mid lane. He had 300 CS in the first 24 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Yes, you heard that right. That's unbelievable. That's insane CS. I mean, that's those are Froggen levels there.
Yeah.
But, even so, he didn't have enough damage to take down the enemy in team fights. They had a double AD comp, and a lot of the fights that happened, their team was down overall. Like they were behind because of a number of kills for the enemy team. But in team fights, even though he had so much farm, he was just kind of a little gnat fly picking at the enemy team. So having that Infinity Edge, you get those crit procs, and then you build attack speed, and just being a single target DPS champion, it doesn't really matter anymore as much as with the Bloodthirster. So I definitely prefer that honor. But here we're back into it. Everything seems to be settled, and now we get to see Big Fat kill Yuzuki in the top lane.
Yeah, just putting some pressure.
Because he cheated. Quantic. No, don't say that. Why would you say that?
I'm just kidding.
Quantic now in a great situation.
He checked the
mini
bush.
He checked it. So they do get this dragon. Top turret goes down for CLG. I'm assuming he just saw him coming out of the mid lane. They had a lot of time to talk. That's a lot of time for them to say, hey, wait a second, we're looking at the map right now, and we know that you guys are safe taking Dragon, and we don't see anyone else on CLG. Yuzuki, you should probably back up. And he goes, what? Oh, okay. and he is going to be safe. They are pressuring him again. They might go for it. They are going for the blue, though. But in the meantime, Malphite way caught out of position. High L9, TF's coming down as well. Hotshot is going to go down. There's the ultimate. If he can get out of there, that would be insane. But the flash stun from Wild Turtle, the Q into the ultimate, they will take him down. But CLG, they're still pushing down this top turret. They're looking for this really aggressive push, and this is exciting to see from CLG. There's the stun ultimate into Big Fat, double lift, picking up the kill. Big Fat flashing out at the last second. He just barely goes down, but they're close to taking this turret. But it's actually, it's buffed right now because there's no minions, so they have to back off because Sona would have gone down.
And Chowster just putting some damage down on Nunu, just trying to farm the creeps in the mid there. You know, in that last fight and that gank in the bot, it's really good that TF got that kill. Could definitely use the gold at this point and have a little bit more presence in this game. You know, he's going to have some damage, and that's really what you want. That makes his pokes that much better, makes his red card that much scarier.
I have to say, though, one of the coolest things to think about in League of Legends would be if teams had coaches that were running plays for them, or, you know, just really having a strong leader. And that it goes to show how important it is to have a strong leader, because a lot of times when you do have those DC issues and you have those long pauses, all of a sudden when the game reconnects, everyone is just like insanely going around the map taking all of the objectives. And you see the teams, they look like it's like clockwork. They're like, okay, we're taking this objective, then we're fighting down here, boom, boom, you know, grab it all. But that doesn't happen a lot of times when there's not the pause. But once they have the time to think about it, they're like, hey guys, let's discuss our options here. And that goes to show how important it is to have a leader to be able to come up with those decisions on the fly, as opposed to when you have a long DC.
Yeah, I'm always surprised too. I mean, some teams don't have leader. Everyone kind of makes the calls, and in which case I would get confused, and it would be a little bit harder for me to decide what to do. Meanwhile, in the mid,
need someone to tell you what to do.
Just that's like what I need in this world.
You know, dominatrix or something. Yeah. For LOL though. But they do back off. CLG in a good situation here. Bien going down bottom. He gets over that wall, so nice net. I was about to say nice net, but he recognizes he didn't want to walk into Loco Doco there. Nunu's coming down as well as Lemon Nation, so they have to watch out. There's the Oracles. So they do have that nice Oracle control. CLG putting pressure on the bot now. They might try and force a fight. Big Fat actually over the wall. Might want to see if he can pick anyone off there. But in the meantime, Chowster is mid. And no ward control so far for CLG. They're actually still down against Quantic, despite getting those the aggressive tower pushes down in the bot lane. But we'll see what CLG tries to do. They're all sitting down bot still. They want to maybe force a fight.
Yeah, but the problem is Caitlyn with that long range can really just kind of chip away and poke at him. And, you know, she has that AoE clear with her abilities, so it's really hard to tower dive in a lot of situations because of that. So not surprised, I mean, that they backed off. Malphite maybe going to try to make a play somewhere else, and looks like just going top to help protect that tower, keep that tower advantage that CLG has.
And pick up some of that farm, but they have 3 turrets down to just the 1 for Quantic, so that pulls them dead even with Quantic right now. Really nice situation. They are going to swap these lanes. Now having this bot lane turret down, Quantic, once they push up, Double Lift could potentially hold that lane, pressed at the second turret. The only concern now is it's late enough that if he does that, maybe Quantic will pressure him around the map. So for the most part, they're going to want to just push back and forth in this bottom lane and force fights around the map. Both teams, you know, doing very well as far as gold. TF going towards that early Lich Bane to give him a little bit more mobility, but we'll see if he tries to force a fight now that his ultimate's up again.
Big Fat LP in the mid farming up. He is 1-1-3, so he's pretty scary.
Elimination!
Oh, here he is. Vayne getting damaged by the ultimate, and the solo ultimate on Nien doing a lot of damage, but Double Lift goes down pretty quick. But here's Nocturne 2. Is he going to be able to jump in? Oh, yes. Okay, so TF goes down, and Nien is really close too. And here's the fear coming out of Elimination, and the snowball from Hive, and that's probably going to be all right. Keep him safe enough to stick around. Oh, Elimination. Malphite diving pretty hard. The ultimate on Loco Doco, so he's going to have to back off. Oh gosh, the flash on flash.
And Diana's behind them. Big Fat picks up the 1 kill. High L9 in a dangerous spot. Big Fat backs auto there. High L9 will go down though. Chowster tanking the turret, and CLG in a really long fight turn this around. Chowster, there's the triple kill for Big Fat, coming in last second and picking up the rest of them on the backside.
And that is really scary, because now Big Fat LP is 4-1-3. He's going to have a lot more damage, and he has those resists too that are able, you know, going to keep him up a little bit longer. Let's see how close, you know, he gets to Zonia's. And it looks like he's not building that first, but I I mean, he's in good position right now. And as a champion who needs to get into the fight, dive in to do the damage, to have this advantage is extremely important to your team comp.
And Double Lift trying to take down Yuzuki. He's actually going to eat him very quickly. Yuzuki trying to get that tower, one last hit. He cannot pick it up. Double Lift, can the minions one last hit? No, it will not. So Double Lift taking him very quickly. Really nice job there. He's getting deep into his build at 4-1. He's evenly farming with Caitlyn right now. So that's going to be really dangerous for them. But Quantic, they have a team. They need to be able to just pick off a champion and back. They need to grab their one person and then back. But they were kind of strung along by CLG for a while, trying to grab that blue. Hotshot, is he going to be able to steal it? He does steal it.
Oh my gosh.
So the nice steal from Hotshot. Wild Turtle's going to be hurting there. But we'll see what they try to do. In the end, he's still pushing down that bottom lane. He wants to get the momentum before he groups with his team.
And that's one of the disadvantages there with, front loading your damage onto the buffs, because then you don't have any last second ability to save and grab that blue for your team and for yourself. And we saw Malphite, he had the ability at the right time, so he got it and he took it, and that's going to be a huge impact, for in the mid game. And Turtle's going to have a little bit harder of a time.
Oh, Hotshot's watching. He might ult over the wall here if they pull him back into him. Chowster still wants the steal, but they don't have vision now, so they will back off for a moment. Lemon Nation, his ultimate is up if they decide to go for it. So CLG, they do all back out, but now they have the dragon. They're in position, and Quantic is not going to be ready for it. So they are going to be able to drop this fairly quickly. And all the while, there's actually a big minion wave pushing down top as well. So CLG, they can kind of move around, take care of some things, because they know Quantic's going to have to deal with that right now.
That could have been a really cool team fight with Malphite sitting behind the wall and Fiddle sitting behind the wall. It's like, oh, you didn't expect Malphite. Oh, you didn't expect Fiddle. And just coming in the chaos that would have ensued as a result.
Like, oh, you got us.
Oh, no. We're all very surprised right now. And, so it's unfortunate, but it's good that they backed off. Who knows? I mean, I don't think Quantic would have had a chance in that team fight.
Well, it's really just if CLG had tried to push it, if they had tried to go in for that red, then Quantic was in the perfect position to just Fiddle ult on everyone.
Yeah, that's true.
And just wipe them. And Fiddle, hasn't actually hit 11 yet, so they kind of want to get him some of that CS. Try and make sure he hits 11, but he does have that Oracle's. So Nunu actually losing his a little bit ago, did he? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But so they do back off. So CLG recognized they were kind of in a tough spot. They didn't have vision of anyone. They didn't want Fiddle to just ult on them. So they are going to be safe, and the game kind of resets for a little bit. So still an 11-5 lead. I'm kind of curious right now, what both of these teams feel about their advantages, because CLG, we've talked about, has a really strong team fight team. So even though the game is fairly even right now, they have a 2K gold lead, their team fights should be stronger than Quantic. They should be significantly stronger. But still, it's actually a little bit closer in gold than I think CLG probably expects. Being ahead 3 turrets, being even in Dragons, and then having an 11-5 kill advantage.
Yeah, and that's really the exceptional farm coming out of Quantic. Aurelia is significantly ahead of Malphite, so that's going to give some help there. Oh, and the Malphite ultimate going down, and they got knocked up, and Fiddle was burned down quick, and also Nunu down too. So now they're just going to be putting some pressure onto this tower, and they're diving a flash from Double Lift. Turtle, you need to get out of there, man. It's going to be too much damage. And Caitlyn Nien just sits back, trying to do some damage, trying to keep him out, and here's Aurelia coming into the fight, trying to get Double Lift the teleport from Turtle.
They have the AoE in the end coming off the backside. They had the kills. They can actually clean them up. There's the double kill for Aurelia. There's another kill for Caitlyn, and they are shut down. Hotshot in a dangerous spot now. But CLG, they immediately won the fight very quickly. They just absolutely destroyed Quantic with their AoE initiation. But then after that, Quantic turned it around in large part because of the sustained damage from TF and his pokes, but then also Aurelia, being how tanky she is, being able to string along a couple of kills. So really nice job from Quantic, recognizing, okay, a number of their ultimates are down. They're, significantly weaker now, and then going in for that.
Yeah, Nien stayed alive, stayed in the back. He has that Infinity Edge, so just hitting a couple crits can absolutely ruin.
Too, and now he's going for the green elixir. Oh
wow. Okay, so he's going to be in some good shape to do some damage, and we saw decent damage out of him in that last fight. With the headshot, and as well as the crit procs. Every now and then he was going to do a big chunk of damage to somebody, and they wanted to take him out. They pursued, they went beyond the tower, and that's what cost them. They got greedy, they got over aggressive, and
And the turret shots onto double lift because they were trying to pressure there. Then TF gets the stun on double lift while he's taking those turret shots. They do have Hotshot up here. Yuzuki, he just runs in, takes that turret, and then we'll be able to chase down Hotshot. They have the rest of the team. The Malphite ultimate is forced out, so they are okay there. Nien versus double lift. I'm curious who's actually going to win this matchup. I would assume it would be Vayne at this point in time. Vayne should easily be able to outdamage Nien, so he does back off. But Big Fat, in the meantime, he's going in for Wild Turtle, just backs off once again, and everyone kind of resets for the moment. But both of the ADs are split if these guys decide to fight without him.
Yeah, and TF's ultimate is going to be up really soon, and that's going to put a lot of pressure. I mean, that bot lane can completely turn around. Caitlyn can then engage and have TF there to help. So that's going to be scary once that's up. And we see CLG kind of just hanging out and clearing some wards, just playing it safe. I think they realized they went a little bit too aggressive in that last fight. Now they're like, okay, let's just slow it down just a little bit. Let's have some better positioning. We don't want to get an advantage and lose it again like we did.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that they didn't just engage right there when Chalster walked down. Aurelia is pretty tanky right now. I feel like he could have maybe engaged on Chalster, and because the ADs weren't there, CLG is actually missing a lot of their damage without Vayne being there. The Baron proc on the elimination from Chalster, getting him over the wall, but they do back off, so they have a 1k gold lead over CLG. It was a 2k deficit not that long ago, so it's been a very even game this entire time. Neither team really, landing any blows that are meaningful so far. So we'll see what both of them can do coming up. And Baron's, at this point in the game, definitely the primary focus for both of these teams. So getting the Oracles to clear it so that maybe you can sneak it, and then getting the ward coverage up there for both teams is very important.
Yeah, we talked about how Quantic needs to catch somebody out on one of the opponents out so they can kill him and bring it to the 4v5 situation.
Because CLG now, they know that Aurelia has to back off because otherwise she's going to die, so they can potentially go top and pressure, but it means that it's a 4v5 right now if they try and pressure this Baron.
Yeah, it looks like they're just being a little bit hesitant, trying to abuse the shadows there. Fog of War, trying to catch him out.
And that's the best spot, right? Is right along this wall a lot of times because you can get that initiation. High L9 coming down trying to catch someone, but if Hotshot gets the initiation, they could win this.
Oh, he misses it.
It was too short, but then there was the flash. The Fiddle flash just to be safe, but I think it was too short anyway. With that Fiddle ult missing, that's a really huge disadvantage for CLG. And Yuzuki jumps in, he picks off Chalster. There's the Lemonation ultimate over the wall, and he gets into the middle of the team now. The Sona ultimate as well. The AoE, though, CLG seems to be winning this. Big Fat, he jumps in and then pops that Zhonya's and double lift. It's just tearing through the enemy team. There's a double kill, a triple kill for double lift, chasing them down. And then Nunu is the only one left, but everyone is very low. I don't know if they can take this right now. Double lift has to tank it for a second. He has to wait for Sona to get over here because Lokodoko has to take this. They might all go down to this, but they are just barely going to be able to get this, I believe. So Hotshot coming in now, and now that Loco's in here, they will be safe and will be able to pick up this Baron.
Really nice 4v1 team fight, and Double Lift able to just do what he wanted to do in that fight. Able to do a lot of damage. Nocturne dove into the back, got burned down pretty quick.
Double Lift coming down. IL9.
Oh my gosh, with the ward there, with the flash, knew he was there, getting caught out, and now the entire team's died in that team fight in one manner or another. So he goes down, and Double Lift looking pretty strong now, 9-2. He's going to go back and buy with just a ton of gold, and he's going to have a huge advantage.
And really, Quantic just getting a little bit excited because of the Malphite ult being down. Fiddlesticks, he ulted over the wall just to get over there, but he didn't have a flash to follow up on it. So he was actually not in the back line like he would like. They really want to get Fiddle on top of Double Lift. They need to be able to shut down Double Lift in those fights, but they were all right on top of Chalster and Hotshot. So, they were focusing them down. And then Big Fat did a great job of taking the pressure off of his backline and off of Double Lift in particular by diving into the enemy team and then Zhonya's. So that's like one of the strengths of Diana, is the fact that you take so much pressure off of that backline AD. And Quantic, they were all clumped together in a tight AoE for them to just wreck them. And it was the nice Sona ultimate and Diana and everything, and then Double Lift cleaning up.
Yeah, well, we talked earlier about how important levels are, and we're looking at Elimination level 11, maybe level 10 during that fight. I don't think
he was level 10 during that fight.
He might have been level 10, in which case, I mean, you're looking at people 3, 4, 5 levels ahead of you with an ultimate that really scales well off levels. So the fact that, I mean, he wasn't going to do a lot of damage in that fight, and we saw it. They were able to just stand in there and just do a lot of damage. I think Double Lift was getting hit by a Fiddle ultimate in that situation, but it didn't do enough because he has such a strong advantage.
And Chalster with the laugh, taunting them after getting the spell shield on that Caitlyn ult, but they're poking up. They have enough heals. Malphite, actually, once they're up to the turret, could tank it for a little bit. They have to worry about those traps. Chowster, he is going to take some damage here. They will be able to regen pretty significantly, but Chowster actually doesn't have the Baron, so it's kind of surprising for them to send Chowster in to tank, because they could just use Hot Shot and then try and poke down the turret some, but they are probably going to back off now. They're kind of wasting their Baron right now, so they can grab the Dragon. They can maybe try and grab some other turrets as well to push their advantage.
They weren't feeling completely comfortable under that tower, and I understand. You know, they had a bad run-in with a tower earlier that didn't result too well for them. So being a little bit more careful, waiting for some minions, just trying to poke them down a little bit, see what they can do.
I actually feel like it looks like CLG might be confident enough that they're just going to engage. There's the Malphite ultimate. Nocturne gets over the wall into Elimination and completely shuts down the Fiddle. And Doublelift, he's looking okay here, but he's going down pretty quickly to Yuzuki. Can he survive? Gets the knockback. There's the GA proc, and everyone's looking good for CLG. 2 members down for Quantic right now. Yuzuki goes down underneath the turret. That is going to be the GG. Big Fat, he goes down. No, the Zonias protects him at the last second, but they get the turret. They're going to be able to get an inhibitor here, and they'll be able to push in fairly easily, and Quantic can't be feeling very good after that last fight. But CLG, rather than slowly pushing, they just decided they're going to bulldoze through their base and just force a fight, because they know they're strong enough. They know they're winning those fights. Doublelift poking down at the turret now, and they should be able to take this fairly shortly. Yeah,
Elimination unfortunately did DC at the tail end of that fight, but yeah, so I don't know if he was there for the fight. I think it seemed like he was. Maybe he died, and then in a fit of rage, he threw his computer out a window.
Though at the same time, if he DC'd, we saw he wasn't moving.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just standing there. So it looked like he might have DC'd. But at the same time, you saw that Chowster initiated on him. He had the spell shield to protect against the fear, and he got the fear off onto Fiddle.
Yeah.
And the fear for Nocturne is shorter than Fiddle's channel duration. And so I don't know that, Elimination actually had enough time to do a full ultimate in that situation.
No, I don't think so. And again, we talked earlier about, the issues with the ultimate, if he can even get in there. I mean, he's not doing a whole lot of damage. Can he even get in there to do enough damage? Will they just knock him up and burn him down too quick? It's hard to say. There's the knock.
I'll go back a step, because it is kind of messing up here. But CLG forcing the fight in here. Elimination, Malphite was actually the one that got vision over the wall, and no, it's the Sona ward, so Loco Doco with the ward. So they know he's sitting off to the side, and once Hotshot engaged, Elimination came in. That's very close. It looked like he might have had time to ult, but he would have gone down very quickly afterwards. But even so, it was great positioning from CLG, through that fight. Hotshot was able to grab several people with his ultimate. Big Fat, oh man,
so close
at the end.
Yeah, I mean,
they have such a strong teamfight team. They were able to force the initiation, which is something that we've talked about the entire game as being the strength of their team, is just forcing that,
hard initiation. Yeah. So I don't know if it would have made a difference. Unfortunately, technology is the vehicle of esports, and sometimes technology doesn't work out the way that you want it to. And
that was beautiful.
It's not. That's a tasteless line.
Oh, okay.
But I'll take full credit. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but. Yeah, it's hard to say if he would have made a difference. I mean, he's significantly underleveled compared to the rest of the team, and level 16 ultimate maybe would have done some damage.
Yeah.
The level 11 ultimate, not sure, and I guess we'll never know. But unfortunately, they lost that fight, and CLG is in a really strong position now to take this game.
And while we're waiting, I figure we can actually go back to the Baron fight up here and just take a look at it.
Yeah.
And you see, all right, so the setup, Nien getting completely caught because they tried to force the fight, only level 10, so that's what we thought. Fiddle, he's not doing hardly any damage. All he's getting is Big Fat here. And then the perfect ultimate. They're all caught in the Sona ultimate, and Doublelift is perfectly safe. So they pull them all into the bush, and Doublelift hitting them over the wall. Quantic never had an opportunity to engage onto the members that they want to hit on CLG.
Yeah.
So CLG just kiting back perfectly in order to grab them in that ult.
Yeah, the tri-bush there, and just the way that they initiated, it allowed Doublelift to be completely safe, and that was the big difference. If you allow Vayne to just sit there and do repetitive damage to you, that sustained DPS, you're going to have a bad time. And that's what happened, and they got caught out, and they got a little bit aggressive. I can understand the Malphite ultimate's down. It's your chance to shine. You can win the game. But, and then High just hugging a ward, just hanging out right next to it, going to go down pretty quick. So good team fight for CLG. They did what they needed to do, and puts them in a good position. I mean, the late game is theirs if they want it.
So coming back to live, you know, hopefully everything's figured out shortly, and I don't know, these teams can figure out what's going on. But I don't know, both teams, very close game through the beginning of it. There was one good fight with Wild Turtle, one good fight with the TF. He was able to, you know, they were able to wear them down underneath the turrets. Oh, the game is over, isn't it? Yeah, the game's over. So GG, CLG.
How do we know the game's over? How do you know?
Because I think everyone just DC'd. I have to go back anyway.
All right,
but
well,
GG,
we can check it out.
CLG,
Yeah.
That was like that.
If
It
that
was a
was
really
it.
exciting fight, and then it becomes an anticlimactic end because they were saying, I don't know, it didn't seem like they all DC'd. I didn't think they all DC'd, but congratulations to CLG. They do take game number 1 versus Quantic, and we'll see what happens. Nope.
Nope, the game's still
Game
going.
in progress.
All right. Let's reconnect. Let's do this thing. It's anybody's game. When you got Fiddlesticks on your team, anything's possible.
And we'll see what both these teams can do. Hopefully everything's okay here, and you know they can get this game underway. But so far, I don't know. I'm curious to see what Quantic is going to do coming into the next game, because we talked about how it was unusual to have that TF pick as that first pick. He wasn't really able to get anything at the end there. So there we go. The play, it has resumed. So they've started over again. I didn't think they had all left, but they're pushing down the top. Quantic, they didn't actually go for the Nexus. TF is able to stall them off for a bit, and that would be the most unusual GG call ever if Quantic now comes back and wins this. But they do back off. So Quantic, they have figured everything out. 2 inhibitors or 2 base turrets are down for Quantic, and 1 inhibitor is down. So CLG in a really commanding lead right now.
Yeah, and that's going to allow them, with that inhib down, to stall on some of the other lanes and just sit back and wait for the minions to win the game for them. And once they go to take care of those minions, then you can take some turrets, you can take some inhibitors, and you can even further your advantage. And Quantic just kind of sneaking a dragon here, definitely going to help in this battle of trying to get back in this game, trying to make sure that they can take CLG in the end. But I mean, what do you think Quantic can do? Is there anything they can do at this point to battle against CLG? I mean, CLG's team fights are way too strong, and with the pressure that they can put on the base, not that the inhibs down, can Quantic do anything?
It's still not that big of a gold lead for CLG. That's one thing to consider for Quantic right now. CLG coming in really quickly. Quantic, they have to get back into their base to defend this. Yuzuki's spilling off to the side, but they have to get back because they're going to lose an inhibitor. They might lose this Nexus. But Quantic right now, they need to put pressure onto Vayne in particular. They need to be able to take down Double Lift because he's just freely attacking him, and the damage output at this point from Vayne is just absurd. In the end, he's trying to recall Chowster, checking him out. Doesn't quite find him. So Chowster is split right now, but there's another inhibitor for CLG. So Quantic, they need to be able to win the next fight in order to stall for those inhibitors up. The next fight, if they can get an ace or close to it, that's going to be the inhibitors respawning, and then the fight after that is going to be them, you know, catching back up into this game. And in order for that to work, they need TF to be able to survive for a long time and spam out damage. So TF and Caitlyn to just live as long as possible. They want to kite and poke down CLG and just spam those wild cards.
Yeah, but the problem with that, TF's so short range, trying to get in and trying to do the damage. Besides his long range poke with the wild card, he can't do a whole lot. And if he comes in, he's going to have a really bad time with, you know, I mean, Sona does decent damage, and, you know, she's free. She gets to just sit in the front and take some damage and deal some damage too. And then Malphite also can damage too, slow him down, lay down some CC. So TF gonna have a very hard time in these team fights. But you're right, if they are gonna win, then TF needs to do something. And so it's a matter of, can he do something in this situation?
And so now Quantic's in a situation where they have to be concerned about not only the minions pushing their base, because CLG can kind of stall and just allow top and mid to win it for them, but they also have to be concerned with the fact that there's the fast initiation from Hotshot. And if Wild Turtle or Caitlyn or Nian are caught off, then that's going to be a GG for CLG. So Quantic, they have to constantly press them and not allow them to get that fast initiation, but the constant turret pressure is going to really hurt them a lot.
Yeah, and because Double Lift is doing so much damage, the turrets are going to go down really, really quick. So Quantic's need to be really safe to make sure that this works out in their favor. But I mean, they're so hesitant. They know it's such a struggle to be able to beat them in team fights at this point. They need the turret. They need that 6th man to be able to make the difference.
And I like what Nien's doing right now. He has the wall that's going to try and stop, some of the members. Maybe not Hotshot, but Hotshot, it seems he's actually stuck. Did he? Maybe DC. There's the Nunu ultimate right in the middle of him. Big Fat comes onto the backline. He's zoning.
Oh.
Double lift. There's the Lemonation ultimate, and he does cleanse. He's able to take down Fiddlesticks. No, one more attack, but Big Fat and Hotshot are very close to going down. So that'd be 2 members down for CLG. The Caitlyn ultimate doesn't quite hit. Chowster does back off, and it seems like it might be the 3rd and final inhibitor for CLG if Quantic can't turn this around.
And Caitlyn goes down really quick, and Sono TF ports in trying to make something happen on Double Lift, but he can just sit there and do all the damage he wants. There's too much CC, and that, my friends, is game. Double Lift looking extremely impressive on Vayne, finishing 12-2-4, really laying down the damage on Quantic. And with that, CLG takes game 1 against Quantic in the IPL5 wildcard qualifiers. So pretty exciting stuff. Pretty exciting stuff. I mean, I expected Vayne to run rampant in that situation. Did really well.
Yeah, I mean, Vayne, double lift late game on Vayne is just absurd. And we talked about coming into the game how both Nien and double lift like that Vayne pick. And it's a very common pick for both of them. So, it would be kind of a coveted pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see that swap hands coming into the next game. But CLG, that aggressive initiation strategy, we've seen it before from them. We've seen it from Azubu Blaze and some other teams as well. But it's very strong. They were able to put a lot of pressure on the early game. So even though it didn't quite work out for them early on, even though they were a little bit behind Quantic still on gold, they pulled ahead like 6-1 early in kills. And the early kill advantage, like you said, it gave them the level advantage. And the biggest significance of that was we saw the Fiddle and how far behind Fiddle was in all the team fights. And, as far as team fights were concerned, CLG just rocked them for the most part. They were able to get that hard initiation and just completely shut down Quantic.
Yeah, but then again, it never seemed... the game seemed like the two teams were way farther apart in terms of gold than they were. Every time I look, I'm like, wow, CLG is really crushing them. And then I look, I'm like, actually, it's only 2K gold. Or, or
even Quantic in the lead while CLG's crushing them.
Yeah, exactly. So it felt close the entire time, but I think, like you said, that level advantage was really the thing that stood out in that. To be able to do some damage on Fiddle with that ultimate, you're going to need some levels. And if you're under leveled, you're not going to do damage, and you're not going to be relevant in those team fights. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw a Fiddle that really didn't matter a whole lot.
But we also saw really aggressive early play from CLG, which is exciting to see. So they start off level 1. They take the enemy blue. Hotshot grabs their blue. So they have control of 3 buffs at the beginning of the game, which is a great start. And then after that, they were constantly tower diving. And, we saw Chowster and Lokodoko in particular knowing exactly what situations they can go in. So they were very safe the entire game for the most part. They CLG knew, all right, we can take this fight. We're going to get 1 kill here. We're going to pull ahead. We can take this fight. They put themselves in some risky situations, but they always knew they were going to come out on top. And just really strong at knowing, Chowster in particular, exactly what fights they could win and which ones they needed to back out of.
Yeah, they did the 2v1 in the beginning of the game, the lane swap, but it seemed like in normal circumstances you do that so you can push the tower down really quick, get that early advantage, and then swap back. But in this situation, it seemed like the 2v1 was there just so you could tower dive. So it was a 3v1 tower dive constantly, whether it was Nocturne coming up and ganking, or if it was Big Fat coming in with Diana, diving those towers in the top lane. So really great use of that 2v1, not just in the tower pushing. I mean, really just how strong the ganks were and how much damage they could put out underneath the tower.
All right, so that's it for game number 1. CLG is up 1-0 over Quantic. Once again, guys, while we're on commercial break, IGN.com/IPL giveaways. Go check it out. We're giving away 10 VIP tickets to IPL5 if you'd like to come. Those VIP passes are really important because Thursday, the group stage where we have 16 of the best teams in the world, it's a massive round robin. So 4 groups of 4, and you can only come to that Thursday if you have that VIP pass. So that's really important if you guys would like to come. If you already have a general admission, go for it anyway. It's also gets you swag bags and priority seating and stuff like that. Cool stuff. So definitely check that out. Also, Instagram. We have an Instagram contest right now. If you just submit some pictures on Instagram, hashtag IPL5, and you'll be entered into the contest. Do you know exactly what it's being given away?
No, I do not.
No.
But it changes every day, and there's lots of stuff like Astro headphones and Gunner glasses
really?
and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just like our other giveaways, except with
Instagram.
With Instagram. So and also during the break, add us on Twitter. Let us know what Quantic can do to win Game 2, because CLG is looking pretty strong. And I said before, I think it's not about beating CLG, it's about beating Chowster. Well, I was wrong, because Doublelift carried that game pretty hard towards the end. So let us know. Is there anything that Quantic can do?
We'll go check for 5 seconds while we're at commercial break. So we'll be right back. Feel free to do that. Would love to hear from you guys, and we'll be right back.